The massive crystalline ships hung in space like beautiful deadly flowers, their surfaces catching and reflecting the light from Earth's sun. Commander Veltar stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Harmony, his tall alien form casting strange shadows under the blue-white lights. His forearms moved gracefully as he checked the tactical displays, each movement precise and calculated like a dancer. For 300 years, the Zephyrian Collective had ruled the trade routes between star systems. Their ships were works of art carved from living crystal that grew stronger with age. No one had ever challenged them successfully. No one had ever been foolish enough to try. Status report, Veltar commanded, his voice carrying the musical quality of his species. 200 ships in formation, Commander, replied his second-in-command, a younger Zephyrian named Krelian. All systems optimal. The human world lies before us. Veltar nodded and turned to look at the blue-green planet spinning slowly below them. Earth. Such a small, insignificant world. Yet somehow these humans had developed faster than light travel in just a few decades. It was impressive, but also dangerous. Uncontrolled expansion could not be allowed. The Collective had tried diplomacy first. It had sent messages offering trade agreements, cultural exchange, and membership in their galactic confederation. But the humans had been strangely quiet. They accepted some trade, but refused to join the Collective, kept to themselves, rarely venturing far from there. Home system. This isolation had to end. Send the message again, Veltar ordered, the communication officer. Ow. A female Zephyrian, with intricate crystal patterns on her skin, activated the transmitter. The message was simple and clear. Submit to collective authority or face complete economic embargo. Join the galactic community properly or be cut off from it forever. 6 hours had passed since the first transmission. The humans had not responded. Perhaps they need more time to consider, Krelian suggested. They are a young species. They may not understand the consequences of defying the Collective. Veltar's crystalline features reflected his doubt, or they are planning something foolish. He walked to the observation deck, his boots making soft clicking sounds on the crystal floor. Through the transparent walls, he could see the other ships of his fleet. Each one was a masterpiece of engineering and art, crewed by the finest warriors. And diplomats the Collective had to offer. It pacified dozens of worlds. It's brought order to countless systems. But something felt different about this mission. The tactical displays showed normal space around. Earth's civilian ships moved between the planet and its moon. Space stations orbited peacefully. Commercial vessels carried cargo to and from the asteroid mining facilities. Everything looked exactly as it should for a peaceful, developing world. Scan again, Veltar ordered. Full spectrum analysis. Sensors swept through space, searching for any sign of military activity. Nothing. The humans had some orbital defense platforms, but they were old and weak. A few patrol ships moved slowly through the outer system, but they were clearly civilian vessels converted for basic security duties. Commander, the sensor operator called out. I'm detecting what appears to be a mining operation on the far side of their moon, a large facility, but it's showing standard industrial signatures. Veltar studied the readings. The facility was massive, but it seemed to be exactly what it appeared to be, a mining and processing station. Nothing threatening about it? What about their military? He asked. Sensors show minimal military presence, came the reply. A few dozen ships at most, all in dock for maintenance. No sign of fleet mobilization. This was puzzling. Most species, when faced with a collective fleet, would at least try to put up some show of force. They would move their ships into defensive positions, activate their weapons systems, or at least send out scout vessels to monitor the situation. But the humans were doing nothing. Perhaps they truly understand their position, Krelian said. Quietly, they must know they cannot fight us. Veltar wasn't so sure. In his long career, he had learned that silence could be more dangerous than threats. The species that surrendered quickly usually survived with minimal damage. The ones that fought foolishly were destroyed, but the ones that remained silent. Commander, we're receiving a transmission from Earth, the communications officer announced. Finally, Veltar straightened, preparing to receive the human surrender. Put it through. Holographic display activated, showing a human face. The being looked unremarkable. 2 eyes, 1 nose, hair covering the top of its head. It wore some kind of uniform, but nothing that suggested high military rank. "This is Earth traffic control," the human said in a flat, emotionless voice. "Oh, you are in violation of our system's shipping lanes. Please adjust your position to coordinates 847.2 by 134.7 and await further instructions." Veltar stared at the transmission in disbelief. Traffic control? They were treating the most powerful fleet in the galaxy like a cargo convoy that had gotten lost. "Respond," he ordered. "Tell them we are the Zephyrian Collective. Tell them we are here on official business." The reply came back within minutes. Acknowledged. "Please maintain current position and await further instructions." And then nothing. Veltar found himself in an impossible situation. The humans were either completely insane or they knew something he didn't. Either way, waiting was becoming uncomfortable. Sky above Earth remained clear and peaceful, showing no signs of the storm that was about to break. Admiral Kim stood in the command center buried deep beneath the lunar surface. Watching the alien fleet through dozens of hidden cameras, the facility looked like a simple mining operation from the outside. But inside, it was the most advanced military command center humanity had ever built. Rows of officers sat at their stations, monitoring every movement of the Zephyrian ships. "Sir, they're getting restless," reported Lieutenant Park, his young face focused on the tactical display. "3 of their scout ships have moved closer to Earth's orbit." Kim nodded slowly. He had been waiting for this moment for 5 years. Ever since Earth's long-range sensors had detected the Collective's expansion toward human space. While the aliens saw a peaceful, defenseless world, Kim saw the culmination of humanity's greatest military achievement. "Time until optimal positioning?" Kim asked. 14 minutes, sir," replied Captain Lee from her station. Coordinator, responsible for managing the attack patterns of over 3,000 ships. "All units report ready and waiting." Kim walked to the main display screen, which showed the space around Earth in perfect detail. The Zephyrian fleet hung there like beautiful predators, their crystalline hulls catching the sunlight. They were positioned exactly where the human strategists had predicted they would be. "Sir," called out Communications Officer Han. "The aliens are transmitting again. Same message as before." "Ignore it," Kim replied. "How long since their last scan?" 47 minutes, sir. "Their sensor sweeps are becoming more frequent." Kim smiled grimly. The Zephyrians were getting nervous. Good. Nervous enemies made mistakes. The plan had been in development for decades. Earth's greatest military minds had studied every alien. Encounter every battle report, every piece of intelligence they could gather. The Collective's tactics were predictable. They relied on overwhelming force and the psychological impact of their massive, beautiful ships. They had never faced an enemy that refused to be intimidated. "Colonel Yu, status of the assault groups?" Kim asked. "All fighters are in position, sir," came the reply from the Strike Force commander. "My pilots are ready. Major Kong's squadron is positioned behind the asteroid field. Captain Lim's group is using the gas giant's rings for cover. Lieutenant Song's team is holding in the outer system." Kim checked his watch. The Zephyrians had been in position for exactly 7 hours and 32 minutes. Their formation was perfect for intimidation, but terrible for defense. They were spread out in a wide arc, showing off their numbers rather than concentrating their firepower. "Sir, we're getting movement from the enemy flagship," Park reported. "Commander Veltar is moving to their observation deck." Kim nodded. Intelligence had identified the Zephyrian commander months ago. Veltar was experienced, but he had never faced humans in battle. He was about to learn why that was a serious disadvantage. "All units, this is Admiral Kim," he spoke into his communicator. "Execute Operation Clear Sky in 60 seconds. All ships acknowledge." The responses came back immediately from captains throughout the solar system. Hidden behind asteroids, cloaked, in nebular clouds positioned in the shadow of moons, thousands of human warships waited for the signal. Each ship was smaller than the alien vessels, but they had been designed for one purpose: to kill efficiently, Captain. Commanding the destroyer Silent Thunder, made final checks on her systems. Her ship was hidden in the asteroid belt, using advanced stealth technology to remain invisible to alien sensors. Around her, the bridge crew worked in perfect silence. "Weapons armed," reported her tactical officer. "Engines ready," called out the navigation officer. "All systems green," confirmed the engineering officer. O looked at her chronometer. 30 seconds. The human fleet had been training for this moment for years. Every pilot knew their target. Every captain understood their role. Every ship had been positioned for maximum effectiveness. The Zephyrians were about to discover what happened when you threaten humanity's home world. "Sir, the aliens are beginning another sensor sweep," Park announced. "Let them look," Kim replied. "They won't see anything until it's too late." Zephyrian sensors swept through space, searching for any sign of military activity. The stealth technology worked perfectly. To alien eyes, the space around Earth appeared empty, except for civilian traffic and orbital stations. 10 seconds, Kim announced to the fleet. On the bridge of the Eternal Harmony, Commander Veltar watched the peaceful blue world below. His sensors showed nothing threatening. The humans had made no aggressive moves. Perhaps they truly understood their situation. 5 seconds, Kim counted down. Captain Lee's fingers hovered over her control panel. Around the solar system, 3,000 human warships prepared to decloak simultaneously. 3.2. Execute. The space around Earth exploded into activity. Human warships materialized from nowhere, their stealth systems dropping. A way to reveal the true size of Earth's defensive fleet. They emerged from behind asteroids, from within gas clouds, from the dark side of planets and moons. The Zephyrian fleet, spread out in their intimidating formation, suddenly found themselves surrounded by an enemy that had been there all along. The trap had been perfectly set, and now it was sprung. On the alien flagship, alarms began to sound. Officers shouted reports of enemy contacts appearing throughout the system. The perfect crystalline formation began to break apart as individual. Ships tried to respond to threats from all directions. Commander Veltar stared at his displays in shock. The humans had not just built a fleet, they had built an ambush. The sky above Earth, clear and peaceful just moments before, now burned with the fire of 3,000 human warships ready for battle. The first human missiles struck the Zephyrian cruiser Crystal Dawn before its captain could even process what was happening. The beautiful crystalline hull, designed more for show than protection, cracked under the impact like fragile glass. Commander Veltar watched in horror from his flagship as one of his most elegant vessels broke apart in a shower of sparkling debris. "All ships, defensive formation," shouted into his communicator. "Return fire immediately." But the human fleet moved like nothing he had ever seen before. Where Zephyrian ships were large and graceful, human vessels were small and deadly. They darted between the alien ships like angry wasps, striking fast and hard before disappearing behind cover. "Colonel, you commanded the assault group targeting the enemy flagship." His fighter squadron had been hiding behind a large asteroid for 6 hours, waiting for this moment. Now they streaked through space toward the Eternal Harmony, their weapons charged and ready. "Target their shield generators," you ordered his. "Pilots, Major Kang, take the port side. Captain Lim, hit them from below. Lieutenant Song, cover our escape route." The human fighters moved with perfect coordination. They had trained for this exact scenario hundreds of times in simulation. Every pilot knew exactly where to strike for maximum damage. Major Kong's fighter dove toward the alien flagship's left side, his weapons blazing. The energy beams struck the shield generator array, causing brilliant explosions across the crystalline surface. The beautiful alien ship shuddered under the assault. "Direct hit," Kong reported. "Their port shields are down to 60%. Captain Lim attacked from below, where the Zephyrian weapons had the worst firing angles. Her missiles found their targets, punching through the weakened hull, plating and detonating inside the ship. Secondary explosions bloomed along the flagship's belly. On the bridge of the Eternal Harmony, Commander Veltar felt his ship shake with each impact. His tactical officer Krelian was shouting damage reports, but the words seemed to blur together. Hull breach, on deck 7. Shield generators failing. Weapon systems offline. How is this possible? Veltar demanded. They're just humans. They're supposed to be primitive. But there was nothing primitive about the attack. The human fleet moved with surgical precision, each ship knowing exactly where to strike and when. They had studied Zephyrion ship designs for years, identifying every weakness. Every vulnerable point, Captain O commanded the destroyer Silent Thunder as it emerged from behind a moon. Her target was the enemy command cruiser Starlight Symphony, one of the most powerful ships in the Zephyrian fleet. The alien vessel was beautiful, its crystal hull carved with intricate patterns that had taken decades to grow. Fire all missiles, O ordered. The human destroyer launched its entire payload in a single, devastating salvo. Dozens of missiles streaked toward the alien cruiser, each one guided by advanced targeting computers. The Zephyrian ship's defensive systems tried to respond, but they were designed for ceremonial battles, not real warfare. The missiles struck the cruiser's hull like hammers hitting glass. The crystalline armor, so beautiful in peacetime, proved useless against weapons designed specifically to destroy it. The Starlight Symphony began to break apart, its elegant lines dissolving into chaos. Another one down, O reported to the fleet command. Moving to secondary target, the battle was not going as Commander Veltar had expected. In 3 centuries of collective expansion, no enemy had ever fought like this. The humans showed no fear, no hesitation. They attacked with the cold efficiency of machines, but with the creativity of artists. Sir, we're losing ships faster than we can count them, Krellian reported, his voice cracking with panic. The Crystal Dawn is gone. Starlight Symphony is breaking apart. Half our escort vessels are destroyed or disabled. Veltar looked at his tactical display and felt his confidence crumble. The beautiful formation he had brought to intimidate. Earth was scattered and broken. Human ships moved between the wreckage like sharks, picking off damaged vessels with ruthless efficiency. How many enemy ships are we facing? He asked. Sensors show ... thousands, sir. They were hiding everywhere. Behind asteroids and gas clouds, even in the shadow of their own planet. Lieutenant Song's fighter squadron had been assigned to hunt down the Zephyrian scout ships. These smaller vessels were fast and maneuverable, but they were no match for human pilots who had been trained since childhood for space combat. Contact bearing 270, Song reported to his wingman. Enemy scout attempting to flee toward the outer system. The human fighters pursued the alien ship like hunters chasing prey. The Zephyrian vessel was fast, but the human fighters were faster. They had been designed for one purpose: to kill enemy ships as efficiently as possible. Song's targeting computer locked onto the fleeing scout ship. He fired a single missile, watching as it streaked through space and struck the alien vessel's engine compartment. The scout ship tumbled out of control, its crystalline hull fracturing along stress lines. Target destroyed, Song reported. Searching for next contact. Back on the flagship, Commander Veltar realized the terrible truth. The humans had not just built a fleet, they had built a war machine. Every ship, every weapon, every tactic was designed around a single principle. Maximum destruction with minimum resources. The eternal harmony shuddered again as more human missiles found their target. The ship's beautiful crystal hull was cracking, its elegant lines disappearing under the assault. Sir, we need to retreat, Krellian pleaded. We're taking too much damage, but Veltar knew it was too late. The human fleet had surrounded them completely. Was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The trap had been perfectly set, and now it was closing. The sky above Earth burned with the light of dying ships, and most of them were Zephyrian. The battle lasted for hours and 17 minutes. When the last Zephyrian weapon fell silent, the space around Earth was filled with floating debris. Beautiful crystalline fragments that had once been proud warships now drifted like broken glass. Catching the light from Earth's sun in sad, final reflections, Commander Veltar sat in the emergency pod that had been his escape from the dying. Eternal harmony. Through the small window, He could see the wreckage of his once mighty fleet. 200 ships had come to intimidate Earth. Less than 30 had survived. Most of those were badly damaged. A human patrol ship approached his pod. It was ugly compared to Zephyrian vessels, all angles and armor plating with weapons. That looked like they existed only to kill. The ship's tractor beam pulled the pod inside, and Veltar prepared to meet his captors. The human ship's interior was harsh and functional. Everything was made of metal and plastic, with no decoration or beauty. Veltar was escorted through narrow corridors by armed guards who watched him with cold, professional eyes. They treated him with respect, but he could see the wariness in their faces. He was brought to a small room with a metal table and simple chairs. The walls were bare except for a screen showing Earth's blue surface. After a few minutes, the door opened and 3 humans entered. The first was an older man with gray hair and steady eyes. He wore a uniform with many insignia, clearly a high-ranking officer. Second was a younger woman with sharp features and the look of someone who planned battles. The third was a man with scars on his hands and the bearing of a combat veteran. "I am Admiral Kim," the older man said, sitting across from Veltar. "This is Colonel Bay, our intelligence officer, and Captain O, who led one of our assault groups." Veltar studied their faces. These humans looked nothing like the primitive beings he had expected to find. Their eyes held intelligence, experience, and something else that made him uncomfortable. They looked like predators who had just finished hunting. "You could have negotiated," Admiral Kim said quietly. "You would have preferred trade agreements." To this, Veltar's crystalline features reflected the harsh lighting of the room. "Your species was supposed to be primitive, isolated, weak," our intelligence report said. "You had barely developed space travel." "We were isolated by choice," Kim replied. "We've been watching the galaxy for decades, learning, preparing. Every species that conquers others eventually comes for everyone else. We decided to be ready." Colonel Bay leaned forward slightly. "Your mistake was thinking isolation meant weakness. We used that time to become something you weren't prepared for." "But how?" Veltar asked. "Our sensors showed nothing. No weapons, no military installations." Captain O smiled grimly. "That was the point. We've been building our defenses for 50 years, ever since we first detected your expansion. Every asteroid mining station, every civilian transport, every orbital platform was designed to hide our real capabilities." Kim activated a holographic display above the table, showed the solar system, but now Veltar could see the truth. What he had thought were civilian facilities were actually military bases. The mining stations were ship construction yards. The transport vessels were disguised warships. The orbital platforms were weapon batteries. "The facility on the moon, where you thought we were mining," Kim said, "that was our primary command center. We've been watching your fleet since you entered our system." Veltar stared at the display in shock. "You turned your entire system into a fortress." "We turned it into a trap," Colonel Bay corrected. "We knew that any species trying to conquer us would position themselves exactly where you did. You wanted to intimidate us with your formation, but you gave us the perfect target." Zephyrian commander felt a chill run through his crystalline body. "You planned this from the beginning?" "We planned for every possibility," Kim said. "Diplomacy was our first choice. But we knew that eventually, someone would come to our system with threats, instead of trade offers. We made sure we would be ready." Captain O stood and walked too. "The window showing Earth. Your people have been conquering worlds for 3 centuries. You've forgotten what it means to face an enemy that fights back." "We haven't forgotten," Veltar protested. "We've faced resistance before." "No," Kim said firmly. "You've faced desperation. You've faced species that were already conquered trying to break free. You've never faced a species that spent decades preparing specifically to destroy you." The truth of those words hit Veltar like a physical blow. The collective had grown comfortable with easy victories. They had become used to enemies who surrendered quickly or fought with outdated weapons and poor tactics. "What will you do now?" Veltar asked. "That depends on you," Kim replied. "Your surviving ships are being repaired by our engineers. Your crews are being treated well. You can return to your people with a message." "What message?" Colonel Bay spoke up. "That Earth is not interested. in conquest. We don't want to rule other worlds or control trade routes. We will defend ourselves, and we will help others defend themselves against aggressors. Captain O turned back to face Veltar. Your collective has had 3 centuries of easy victories. That ends now. There are species in this galaxy that will fight back, and we're going to help them. Kim stood up, signaling that the meeting was ending. The galaxy is about to learn something new about humanity. We're not the strongest species, and we're not the most advanced. But we're the most dangerous, because we understand something your people forgot. What's that? Veltar asked. Sometimes the only way to have peace is to be so good at war that no one wants to fight you. 6 months after the battle, Ambassador Nam stood before the Galactic Council in the Great Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime. The massive chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds, all sitting in curved rows that rose toward the ceiling like an amphitheater. The air hummed with translation devices as dozens of different species prepared to hear from the humans for the first time. Nam was not what they had expected. She was small compared to most alien species, wearing a simple black uniform with no decorations except for a small Earth symbol on her collar. Behind her stood General Ru, the architect of Earth's military doctrine, and Admiral Kim, the hero who had defeated the Zephyrian fleet. The chamber fell silent as Nam approached the speaking platform. 6 months ago, most of these beings had never heard of humanity. Now, every government in the galaxy was desperate to understand what Earth wanted. Honored representatives, Nam began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. I come before you not as a conqueror, but as a neighbor. Earth seeks friendship and trade with all peaceful species. A ripple of whispers ran through the assembly. The collective's survivors had told stories of the battle, but seeing these humans in person was different. They looked so ordinary, so unremarkable. Yet they had destroyed the most powerful fleet in the galaxy in a single afternoon. The Zephyrion Collective came to our system with demands, Nam continued. They told us to submit or face isolation. They brought 200 warships to enforce their will. We chose a third option. The Zephyrian representative, a female named Salandra, who had replaced the disgraced Veltar, shifted uncomfortably in her seat. The collective's power had crumbled overnight when news of the defeat reached their territory. Dozens of worlds had declared independence, and the trade routes were in chaos. We do not seek to conquer, Nam announced to the assembled representatives. We seek to protect. But understand this clearly. The next time any fleet approaches Earth with hostile intent, the sky won't just be clear. It will be empty. The threat was delivered in such a calm, matter-of-fact tone that it took a moment for the full meaning to register. General Ru stepped forward slightly, his scarred face showing no emotion. He had fought in the battle, commanding the planetary defense systems that had torn apart the Zephyrian formation. Some of you may think Earth is bluffing, Ru said. You may believe that our victory was luck, or that we used all our resources in one battle. You would be wrong. A holographic display activated above the speaking platform showing Earth's solar system. But now the hidden defenses were revealed. Weapon platforms disguised as asteroids, battleships hiding in gas clouds, entire fleets concealed in the shadows of planets. What you see here is just our home system, Admiral Kim said, speaking for the first time. We have been preparing for 50 years. Every human colony, every outpost, every trading station has been built with defense in mind. We are not easy prey. The display changed, showing other human settlements throughout the galaxy. Each one was fortified, each one was armed, each one was connected to the others through secure communication networks. Humanity had not just built a fleet, they had built a war machine that spanned dozens of star systems. But we prefer peace, Nam continued. We want to trade with you, learn from you, share our knowledge and culture. Earth's technology is available to all species that approach us with friendship, the Altarian representative, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms, stood up. What about the collective? What about the species that have been conquered? Nam smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. Earth believes that all species have the right to defend themselves. are willing to share our military technology with any world that faces aggression. The impact of those words was immediate. Throughout the galaxy, species that had been crushed by the collective's expansion suddenly saw hope. The Terran Alliance, a mutual defense pact between Earth and smaller worlds, had been forming in secret for months. "We offer a simple proposition," General Rue said. "Join us in building a galaxy where conquest is no longer profitable, where aggressive species find themselves facing not helpless victims, but prepared defenders." Captain Lee, who had coordinated the fleet attack, watched from the gallery as the assembly erupted in discussion. She had returned to active duty, now commanding Earth's newest battleship, the Defiant. Her ship was currently orbiting Nexus Prime. Along with a small escort of human vessels, the alien representatives were learning what Commander Veltar had learned 6 months ago. Humanity had not just defeated the collective, they had changed the rules of galactic politics forever. "The age of easy conquest is over," Nam announced as the chamber quieted. "From now on, aggression will be met with overwhelming force, not just from Earth, but from every species that chooses to stand together." The Zephyrian representative Salandra stood up slowly. "What if we simply leave you alone? What if the collective withdraws from this region of space?" "That would be wise," Admiral Kim replied. "But the damage is already done. The galaxy has seen that even the most powerful fleet can be destroyed by a prepared enemy. Other species are already asking Earth for help building their own defenses." Nam stepped forward to deliver her final words. "We didn't start this war, but we're going to finish it. Every species that wants to live in peace can count on Earth's support. Every aggressor will face the consequences." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The old order was dead. The collective's reign of intimidation was over. A new paradigm had begun. One where humanity stood as the guardian of the peace. Outside the station, Captain Lee's ships waited in the darkness, ready to enforce Earth's promise.